uh, Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. My name's Emma, and I'm joined. Oh, we're presented by Offside News. It's a 50-50 whether I say it or not.
Yeah.
My name's Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Marcie.
Hello.
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 We're back. Very soonly after. Hopefully, I get this up before the end of the day. I think I'm going to try and aim to get it up before I go to my night class tonight, in which that case, if you're listening to this when this goes up, it's election day in Ontario. Go vote.
Go
It's
vote.
today. Go vote. All you need is a piece of ID and a proof of address where you vote, which, if you don't live if you're like me and a university student and you're an Ontario resident and you're going to school in Ontario but you live away from home, you probably have maybe a credit card statement, or you have a lease with your name on it. Anything that is a proof of address. So it could also be your hydro bill. Literally anything that's been hey, I also live here, and a piece of ID, which I'm sure you have. If you don't, I'm concerned. All you need is that, and they have to let you vote. Go vote. Do it.
Go vote.
Voting is cool and it's fun. Because you get to put a little slip of paper into a box and be like, whoa, I did a thing. So go vote. It's today, February 27th. Go vote.
Woo.
But yeah, I mean, I am still riding the high from Tuesday's game, so we can jump right into that.
Yeah, I have a bone to pick with the Leafs. Why is it they play so that? Why are they really, really shit?
No,
Until I realize I have to go to bed, and then minutes later, Morgan Riley decides to score a fucking goal.
No, that's the funniest part is the whole time I'm thinking as I'm watching the second half of that game on Tuesday, I'm like, Mars asleep right now and is missing all of this.
It was literally minutes. I woke up the next morning and I was like, that notification was literally less than 10 minutes after I went to sleep.
It's great though. I fully went to a hockey game yesterday. I went to the Sens and Jets game, which oh boy. Ottawa. I went, which I think surprises no one when you remember that it was their Tragically Hip theme night. I had a great time. By the way, in case anyone's wondering, yes, all of your life problems can be fixed by a Tragically Hip cover band.
Problem solved. There you have it.
Problem solved, but not the same for the Ottawa Senators, because their problems were not solved by a Tragically Hip cover band. They in fact may have gotten worse. Yeah. Tyler Cleven's injured now.
Oh dear.
Yeah. But anyways, Leafs in Boston, which is, I think, a tale as old as time in terms of games where I stress out.
Yeah.
But Anthony Stolarz gets the start against Jeremy Swayman, and the Bruins waste no time getting on the board, where it's David Pastrnak with a breakaway. I think it's 20 seconds in. It was ridiculous. It was stupid.
I hadn't even sat down.
Oh no, I was still getting comfortable because I had sped walk home from class. Because I have a class that ends at 6:50, so I speed walk home and I make it just in time for puck drop, and I'm still gathering myself and settling in, and then David Pastrnak is whoop-de-doo-dah, look at me,
we can't have nice things,
I'm gonna score a goal on a breakaway, which I'm hey, wrong 88 to do that.
Yep. The other one, please.
The other one, please. And it just all came from a defensive mistake by a pair that you wouldn't expect it to come from, and that's Chris Tanev and Jake McCabe, which, I mean, unfortunate. It's one of those things where I'm damn, they are really, like, you have to understand that these players are human, and I'm not gonna be like, oh, we gotta get rid of them, because we don't. Like, we actually very obviously need them. I'm not gonna say it's terrible. I'm just saying, like, it sucks that, like, make a mistake that early into the game and it ends up you're already down 1-0. And it's unfortunate. Unfortunate. And it's like rare for them to like give up that chance and like that prime scoring opportunity for David Pasternak, right? Like just unlucky. And then Brad Marchand makes it 2-0. Sure, why not? Whatever. It's fine. It's not like, you know, I wanted to enjoy my Tuesday evening or anything like that.
Yeah. And we don't have to be happy all the time or ever.
No, we don't have to be happy. But yeah. Also in the first period, Chris Tanev goes down the tunnel after a hit, and does not return due to an upper body injury. And then is seen leaving the building in a sling, which makes me think of all the other times I've seen Leafs players like leave the arena after a game where they like left the game because of injury with like some sort of sling or crutches or brace.
I'm fine.
And I get Joseph Wool high ankle sprain for last year.
I was thinking exactly. I was like, oh, I remember how miserable it was last
time.
That
Joseph Wool seen like leaving the arena in crutches. That tweet was the start of something so terrible.
Oh god.
But yeah, he does not return to the game. Craig Berube, though, says afterwards that he is day-to-day. It is not which is good news, apparently. Which is fine. He's not expected to play Friday against New York Rangers at MSG, but could be available for Sunday, Monday, that back-to-back with travel. So, you know what? Not terrible. Could be worse. We could be missing him long term. I will, however, laugh at the irony in which we were like, yes, Chris Tanev, go home over the break. Go home. He's from Toronto.
Go home.
Go home. Go to East York. Like rest up, whatever. Do your like cold tubs and hot baths or whatever. Cold baths or hot tubs, whatever. Like rest up. And then like 3 games in, he gets hurt, and we're all like, no.
It's like, yeah.
And it's one of those things too, where it's like, he truly is impactful to this Leafs lineup, and you don't like realize until you're watching, like, much love to them until you're watching the return of Benoit and Jake McCabe, which loved that pairing last season, and then we got Chris Tanev, and I was like, actually, this is way better.
He's like, love that pairing, but I like this one more.
Yeah. I do remember the terrible twos pairing of last season. That was a great time. But, and I will say though, like that did provide an opportunity for players to step up in that game, especially on the blue line. Like Morgan Riley, I have multiple bullet points about how much I'm going to talk about Morgan Riley this episode.
Yes!
Love Morgan Riley. But him and OEL then had a great game afterwards in terms of having to then step up because they're having to take more defensive minutes because Chris Tanev is out of the lineup, and he is a guy who eats up a lot of defensive minutes on that Leafs blue line because he's just good at blocking shots. But yeah, and then we're into the second period. We just keep rolling. I'm rolling through like the first half of this game really quickly. Morgan Geekie. I had to make sure not to say Morgan Riley on this one, but Morgan Geekie, who is having himself a hell of a season. As someone who like doesn't like, not that I don't really pay attention to the as much as I don't really pay attention to the Boston Bruins when I don't have to. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, if you just like look if you just look at, I'm trying to figure out like how many goals he has at this point, but like if you just look at the standings or whatever, and you check in on like the goal counts for Boston, that guys have scored. Morgan Geeky's at 19.
Oh.
I don't know, like this is a guy who he's 19 goals. Which I have to like compare it to his previous seasons to be like, hey, look, like 31 points for a guy like last year in 76 games, he scored 17 goals, 22 assists for 39 points. He's only played 54 games this year so far and has already surpassed and has a new career high in goals. So he's just one of those guys where like he's just having a great season this year. And like he's playing well. And I'm like, ooh, Morgan Geeky, dangerous.
Yeah.
But 10 minutes into the second, things start to turn around for the Buds, with Morgan Riley scoring his to put the Leafs on the board 3-1, having none other than Nick Robertson as a net front presence to provide the screen. Little 5'9" Nick Robertson.
Hello, Nicky.
Which like shows that like there is a strong there's a strong and increased physicality to his game. Just recently, like in the past couple of months, where it's like, oh, okay, I like this. This is fun. Let's keep doing this. Because then you also are scoring goals. And you're also, though, sorry, we both got a text, and I'm just wondering if you've seen it. Not a text, like a. I check your phone. Sorry, this is it's so unrelated. It is just we both got the same text message.
Wait.
Sorry, this is so unrelated to the conversation that I was going to have about Nick Robertson and like how great he's been playing recently. And there's like multiple guys who I want to highlight, like who have just like stepped up. Oh yeah, no, that too, but not that.
Oh wait,
from check Twitter.
Oh,
I was
that's
also
just
going to bring that up.
Right, you talk about Nick Robertson.
Sorry. The person who sent us that text message is going to listen to this episode and have an absolute giggle at this part. Sorry, Nick Robertson. I do want to talk about him because, like, I think for me, like, one of the to those who want to listen to the podcast, Randy says hi.
Hi, Randy.
Randy's gonna listen to this part and have an absolute giggle. That's who texted us. But anyways, sorry. Anyways, moving on. Oh, but sorry, I was distracted. I wanted to talk about Nick Robertson because for me, like, and I think for a lot of people, and we've talked about this before, I think earlier in the season when we were talking about Nick Robertson, when he went on that really hot streak before Christmas. Was it before Christmas? It was before Christmas when it was like that third line was insane. And we were like, the only thing with him that we're like, he's almost there in a way where it's like he's a goal scorer naturally. Like I think even if like you watch him in juniors, and I did a little bit because I live in Ontario. Sorry, I pay attention to the OHL. And have for a long time. Not as intensely as some people do, but I do pay attention. But like he's been adding that defensive a little bit. He's been a little bit more responsible defensively. He's been a little bit more responsible defensively this season. And also as well, has been improving his like net front presence, and like just his physicality as well. Like, and maybe that is something that's come with being coached by Craig Berube. Maybe like that honestly very much could be a thing. Or it could be just that's the next avenue in which his game improves, in which he's decided to improve his game. But like it's really fun to watch because it's made him such a dangerous player because like on this goal by Morgan Riley, he doesn't get a point on the goal. Like he's not touching the puck. He doesn't get a point for it, but he very much facilitated this puck going into the back of the net. And in the way of like, he gets up right up in front, right in front of the net. I can't remember which Bruin it is who, I can't remember which Bruin it is who like what he was battling net front with. I can't, it doesn't matter. It was someone bigger and taller than him. That's what I can say. I can't remember which one it is, and I don't want to throw out a name because I feel like I'm gonna be wrong. Because I'm like I don't recognize half the names on the Bruins because like Lindholm and McAvoy are out her, and I'm like, who are these guys? I don't know. But
they cute at you.
And it forces Jeremy Swayman to shift out of position, and not in a way of like, oh, watch out for goalie interference, but just in the way of like, okay, there's now more space being taken up outside of the crease, forces Jeremy Swayman to move over. Morgan Riley gets the shot off, and we're all like, look at that. We're on the board. Not a shutout.
Not a shutout. Minutes after. It's like Morgan Riley could just sense that I was all snuggled, tucked up in bed, trying to like get off to sleep, and he goes, you know what I'm gonna do? Marcie's asleep in England.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna score.
Did you end up like watching any of this back afterwards? I just not like I'm saying like you should have. I'm just curious on like in which degree you've seen the next part of this game that we're about to talk about, that I'm about to.
I haven't watched like the highlights back yet, but I watched like the clips on Twitter after like all the goals.
Oh, okay.
And that was
all right.
I have been busy bee.
Okay. All right. So that's what so you have watched the goal clips. Okay, no, that's fine. Like I know you're writing a dissertation right now. So like
dissertation, 3 pieces of coursework. I'm stretched thin.
Yeah, I know you're busy right now. I was just curious before I like make reference to something and assume that you know what I'm not even spoil it, but just like make reference to something that wasn't
and I just sit there and
highlight. And you just give me a blank stare back as I'm expecting a response from you. That's all. Yeah. That's all. Yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do with the late games that we have coming up in March. I hope you guys like hearing my voice because I feel like you're just gonna hear a lot of it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The next 6 weeks are gonna be rough for me.
It's gonna be me going, so guys, like Mars here, but like she didn't watch this game. So you're gonna hear from me, and I'm just gonna say a name, and Mars gonna go, yeah, we like this guy.
Yeah, I watched highlights of breakfast.
But yeah, Mitch Marner power play goal, fantastic. He took the shot, which hey, reminder, Mitch Marner has a wicked shot. That's what that one is. That's my message. Also on that, Morgan Riley gets the assist, which is his 500th career point. Mo.
No, Mo.
It also means that he is 3rd in points for Leafs defensemen, passing Hap Day, which sorry, I love Hap Day in terms of that's an ultimate hockey name.
Is incredible.
Hap Day, my goat. But second to only Borje Salming and Thomas Kaberle, which I always forget that he was just here for so long that he has so many points as a Leaf.
Oh god.
I'm like, oh yeah, Caverly. That
Oh,
guy.
yeah. I remember him.
I do actually quite well. Because he was here for so long. Um, but yeah, Morgan Riley's game stays hot. He is like, I don't know what the switch was. I don't know if there was just something that clicked. I don't know if it was also definitely like a long time coming, but just he's now hot. He's staying
Yeah, he
hot
is.
on the this is a family. I can't even say this is a family show. You dropped an F-bomb like 30 seconds into the show.
Yeah.
I can't even go, this is a family show, because it's not. I have to mark each episode as explicit when I post the episodes.
My bad. Look, sometimes I just have to say fuck.
But yeah, I will say though, like a lot of people were saying like Trey Morgan a lot of people were saying Trey Morgan Riley. I never said that. I believe in Morgan Riley. And maybe it's also because like I have his signed Hockey Fights Cancer jersey literally to my left. And I look at it all the time. And it's like signed and everything. So I'm like, I don't want you to go because I want to at least be able to like frame this. And not just have it sit hanging by a clothes hanger on my wall. I need to be able to like have an office and have enough money to like frame it because I'm never gonna wear it because it's white and autographed and I'm so afraid of getting it stained. And I know people are gonna be like, well, jerseys are made to be worn. I'm like, I also spend a lot of money on this. Not that one. Like I wear all my other jerseys, just not that one. Even my Sidney Crosby 2011 All-Star Game dead stock jersey.
Yeah.
Wore that to the Canada-Sweden game.
Oh, God.
But yeah, just like anyways, more red like in all that like his defensive game has been great. I want to say past couple of weeks because it's been like there was 2 weeks off, but it is nice to see like he is taking off from where he left off before the Four Nations break and is continuing at the same clip. And like, if anything, I'd much rather Morgan Riley start to get hot this time of year going into March, April, and the playoffs than October, November. And I think I hope a lot of people agree with me. Like, it's one of those things too, where it's like the NHL playoffs are so fickle and like sometimes like the right team just needs to get hot at the right time and can win everything. Like the St. Louis Blues in 2019, they were the team that just happened to get hot like at the right time and pulled themselves out of the bottom of the standings and go on to win the Stanley Cup. And it's like, that's just what you need sometimes. And I think, it's very optimistic to see Morgan Riley's play and also know how he plays in the playoffs, and get really excited about it and, not necessarily have to criticize him constantly. Anyways, we love Morgan Riley.
We love Morgan Riley.
Someone give this man a Stanley Cup because he's been here for too long. He's seen the horrors.
I'm sorry, when the edits of Morgan Riley to the Great War start coming out, that's how give the man a cup.
He's been through too much. When he's the only one left from the 2013 Leafs, you're like, dude, someone free him. But yes, speaking of Morgan Riley and Nick Robertson, which fantastic. Nick Robertson ties it up 3-0. Anthony Stolarz gets an assist on the goal. His first point of the season and his first point as a Leaf. Yay! Everyone loves goalie assists. Huge day for us. Huge day. I do wish though, because I'm like still upset that you can't get the like us goals and assist points in fantasy for goalies. Literally. Like I don't know why ESPN hasn't done that. because, like, I'm sorry, I had Philip Gustafson on my team when he got a goalie goal. I want my goal. I want my goal points. I think I ended up winning that week anyways, but I want my goal points. I have Philip Gustafson. But yeah, and also as well is a brilliant pass by Morgan Riley to start the breakaway chance for Nick Robertson and to launch him off on that rush there. It was very similar to the pass goal where it was just a long shot through the middle that ended up going through open ice and right onto a Robertson stick. And Nick Robertson is a goal scorer, like I've said already this episode, and tucks one behind Jeremy Swayman. Like, just the places from which he takes shots in the game is like the only other guy that you really see take shots from there on the Toronto Maple Leafs is like Austin Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun to watch. And okay, Nick Robertson is not as defensively strong as Austin Matthews, and maybe will not, and is not expected, nor am I ever going to expect for him to score at the same rate as Austin Matthews. But it is really fun to see that, like, if he can be basically anywhere on the ice and still be dangerous. And he's really hitting his stride right now, which again is the perfect time for him to hit his stride. We're going into the last 6 weeks of the season soon, and we're nearing the playoffs already. Like, the trade deadline's next week.
No, sure.
Which is crazy. And it's coming up really quickly, and it is kind of crazy to think about because, like, anyways, I'm not going to get sentimental about the podcast, but, like, I do remember our playoff coverage from last season and how much fun that was.
It was so much fun.
It was so much fun. I think people don't realize how many of those games Mar and I watched together over FaceTime. Do you remember how?
So many games. And we'll do it again.
Do you remember? Because we were on FaceTime still when the Ullmark trade dropped because we were going to watch the game together.
Oh my God, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh.
Anyways.
We've been through so much.
Yeah. But the game's not over yet. David Pastrnak puts the Bruins up 4-3 because, like, he's really good. Like, from
really
camera.
Good.
Yeah, she's really good. I can do the voice really well. I'm so proud of myself.
I love when the brain cell strikes.
And, like, we were like, oh, is he a Leaf killer? No, I think he's just, like, showing off to William Nylander. Have we considered? Childhood besties. But yeah, he is just really good. That's, like, all I have to say, because I don't want to talk about that anymore, because it doesn't matter anyways. You know why? Because with 45 seconds left in regulation, Pontus Holmberg puts the team on his back and scores a goal to tie it for the Leafs. And I just have to say, drive the net. And he did. And that's what it was. And I don't think there was anyone happier on that goal.
He listens to the podcast. Oh my God, this stupid little. Oh, you look concerned.
No, I just I'm not concerned about anything. I was just reading something.
You can't pull that face because then it makes me think something's happening.
That was my concentration face. I was trying to read something.
Well, you were kind of like, you looked like concentrating, but also like. Startled.
It's just Macklin Celebrini if Ass would play for Team Canada at the World Championships. That's all. That's all.
I don't have to panic then.
Children off to war. No need to panic. Unless you're like, really don't want Macklin Celebrini to go to World Championships. But yeah, I will say there was no one happier on that goal for Pontus Holmberg than Matthew Nyes. Did you see it on the replay? He's got both hands up.
I just think that that's a really good way to make me have an absolute crisis about 5 minutes after I wake up. Because I see that and I'm like, yeah, okay. Okay. I'm normal about this, I swear.
Yeah. Drives the net also for Pontus Holmberg, who had 2 goals. And we talked about this last episode. He had 2 goals going into 4 Nations break. He's come out, played 3 games. He now has 6. That
I
is 4
think
goals
it's
in
time
3
we start the
games.
conversation. Is Pontus Holmberg better than Wayne Gretzky?
Perhaps.
This is where we have serious conversations.
Pontus Goldberg. That's Mitch Marner's favorite 4th line blurb.
Is Pontus Holmberg the greatest hockey player of all time? Yeah.
Perhaps.
I don't even think it's
because that is Mitch
perhaps.
Marner's favorite player. I love how it's like Mitch Marner has been telling us this though too, that Pontus
Yeah,
Holmberg
he's like,
is
that's my
his
favorite
his favorite.
player.
He's like, yeah, that guy. Remember,
Remember Pontus?
remember Pontus. Yeah, ties it up, and we're off to overtime, in which I feel incredible levels of stress, but not to fret, because it's overtime in Boston, and Mitch Marner is on the ice, and after having an insane chance in which he uses his foot to set up John Tavares, Mitch Marner, once again OT hero in Boston, which I had a nickel for every time I watched him contribute to an OT winner in Boston in the past week. I have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. He, after like Anthony Stoller's making an insane save, puck goes the other direction. Morgan Rielly once again gets an assist on this one because, yeah, all right, Morgan Rielly. What a game for him.
Yeah.
Mitch Marner tucks it past Jeremy Swayman, and the Leafs win in a crazy comeback win. Hey, Bruins fans, it was 3-0.
It was 3-0.
It was 3-0. That's 4 points, 1 goal, 3 assists for Rielly, earning him the first star of the game. But the belt goes to Mitch Marner because how can you disagree with an OT winner?
You can't. Although I will say, my one like thing I need from this, next time they decide to start being good halfway through a game, can they do it before? Can they do it just like a little bit earlier? So I don't, because usually if it's a really horrific game, or if I'm just sat there losing all hope and I have to be up in 5 hours, I'm gonna sit there and go about halfway through the second, and we're like, yeah, I think I could probably just go to bed and be fine. I need them to start getting their shit together before I make that decision. Because then I can't miss any more Pontus Holmberg goals. I can't do that to myself. It hurts. So please, Leafs, sort yourselves out a little bit sooner. Just for me. Just for little old me. All the way over in England. And that's all I have.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted by something.
Whoa, shocker.
I'm sorry. Wow. I was listening. I do agree because I tweeted out very closely prior to Morgan Rielly scoring the first goal to put the Leafs on the board. I was like, hey, can the Leafs stop losing on Tuesdays? Because I have to go on the air every Wednesday for the radio show that I do. Which you should totally listen to on CHUO every Wednesday at 1 p.m. because it is so much fun and I so greatly enjoy doing it. We had a great show this week in which I got to talk a lot about 4 Nations.
Oh, I'm so mad I missed it.
It was great. You would have laughed, I think, at so many different points.
And I know. I was like, I was walking home and then I was like, shit, I missed it.
You can go back and listen to it.
Oh,
That's
I
the
will.
magic.
I will. I'll just sit there and giggle. I'll just send you text and I'll be like, wow, Emma, you're so funny.
um, but yeah, so I do appreciate that because it does mean that I then get to go onto the radio show on Wednesday and talk about the Leafs comeback when it gets Boston and sit directly across from my co-host who's a Sens fan who was having not a great time and is not having a great time this week. The Sens lost last night to the Winnipeg Jets. Pretty brutally. Like the score is misleading in just how bad the Sens were. It was tragically hit night. I did have a great time. But yeah, future coming up for the Leafs. Anthony Stolarz had a great game in terms of the fact of like he made some brilliant saves, and sometimes the puck just finds the back of the net. You know, like it's one of those where like I don't even want like there's nothing to criticize him on, which is great. Um, but yeah, moving on to looking ahead for the Leafs this week. Well, remaining of this week, the Leafs play tomorrow. I kept thinking they played tonight. I don't know why, but they
I did
play
also think
tomorrow.
they played tonight, and I was like, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, no. Cool, because it's usually if they play on Tuesday, then they then play on Thursday, right? But
Yeah.
this week is really weird because they don't play on Saturday, which is like one of the
Mm.
only times they don't play on Saturday this season. Um,
Yeah.
which is very unsettling for me because I'm like, oh, so what am I supposed to do with my Saturday night now? Actually,
Yeah.
like go out and enjoy it? Strange.
Nah.
Now I'm gonna be watching the Sens take on the Sharks. Um, but yeah, Toronto is at New York on Friday at MSG against the Rangers. I am going to assume apparently William Nylander hopefully should be good to go. Um, in that game because I forgot to mention this. He did not play some of like the end of the third period and also overtime in Boston and was seen on the bench with his glove off examining his wrist, which makes me nervous. Craig Berube said apparently it's nothing to worry about. So hopefully he's right and it is nothing to worry about and we'll see Nylander back in the lineup on Friday. If not, there'll be some mad shuffling where we may see Alex Steve's second line right winger. Woo! Connor,
Yay!
welcome back to the lineup.
Oh
Or Max
god.
Pacioretty also as well is potentially good to return. We will see how he feels. I don't know how this is. I don't know how the lineup is going to look. Leafs went with the same lineup today against Boston, and it worked. But we will see on Friday. Like, because I don't even think the Leafs are practicing right now. They practiced yesterday, and the lineups were weird because a bunch of guys had maintenance days, and there was very few guys on the ice. So yeah, Joseph Wool, though, however, I'm going to assume he's going to get the start against New York because it seems like the Leafs are just now alternating on their goalies. I called Anthony Stolarz for Tuesday, I think way before we ever knew who was going to get the start.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm going to just go out on assumption and say Joseph Wool will get the start. Probably against Igor Shesterkin. I don't know, like, hold on. Rangers don't play today. Do they play Saturday? No, they do not. So it's probably going to be Shesterkin because they don't have a back-to-back. So it'll probably be against Shesterkin, but also as well, Rangers are facing a couple injuries. Keandre Miller was in a no contact jersey today at practice, and also as well, Adam Fox is on the IR with an upper body injury, and we just got a Brian Reeves and Chris Tanev blue room.
Oh my god.
These things need to stop happening when we're recording. Because this is like the third Blue Room that's dropped while we're mid-recording, I
Oh
think, in the
my
past 2
God.
years.
Yeah, I will never forget when the Joseph World Blue Room dropped.
I think I remember I fell out of my chair.
Yeah. I I
I
routinely will just like think back to that moment and go, that was crazy. Like, what do you mean? Oh God.
and then remember the Nick Robertson one too. That one also dropped while we
Mm.
were recording. Anyways, whatever. It's fine. We're it doesn't matter. We'll watch it later.
Yes.
Sorry. That's also just like you're putting just like two old men in a room together.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, but yeah, so Adam Fox is on the IR with an upper body injury. So we will I don't know how Friday's game is going to go for the Leafs because this week the New York Rangers were totally whopped by the Buffalo Sabres 5-1 to the point where the Buffalo Sabres chased Igor Shesterkin out of net and ruined my fantasy. Um, and then the Rangers then go and shell out the New York Islanders and Ilya Sorokin 5-1 in the span of this like the same week, like literally back-to-back games. So I do not know what Friday is going to be like
Anything can
because
happen.
anything can happen, and also as well as like they're facing injuries on the blue line, and I don't know. I honestly right now am mentally preparing myself for the Leafs just to get absolutely goalied by Igor Shesterkin.
No, I don't.
Although,
My poor fantasy team.
although Austin Matthews, for some reason, plays really well and scores a lot on Igor Shesterkin. I don't know what. This has always been an
Mm.
ongoing thing. So maybe this is kind of the comeback game where we get to see Austin Matthews be
Yeah.
more of himself. Because yes, he has had a goal post Four Nations, but like he's a little bit, I don't want to say lackluster because he's Austin Matthews, but like he's playing like I don't want to say average either, but it's like I'm like you're not being like Austin Matthews. You're just being an NHL player.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Um,
Mm.
but yes, and then because we don't have another episode till Monday, on Sunday, the Leafs are in Pittsburgh taking on now the Michael Bunting-less Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm actually upset about this now because I just now realized that he's not going to be in the lineup on Sunday against the Leafs. For the reason for that is Michael Bunting had to get his appendix removed. That is the third appendectomy of the NHL season. If you remember, I made a big deal about John Gibson getting his appendix removed because I was like, dude, why are there so many appendectomies?
We can't have nice things.
No, we can't.
It's tragic.
It is tragic because I like watching Michael Bunting play against the Toronto Maple Leafs because it's funny.
Yeah.
Because I like Michael Bunting, and it sucks for Pittsburgh. And then
Mm.
I guess on Monday we'll have an episode before the Leafs take on the Sharks at home. First time for Macklin Celebrini to play against Toronto Maple Leafs. But I guess all this talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins and Michael Bunting will lead me into my conversation about the Eastern Conference standings as they are right now. Just a little pre-trade deadline check-in. Because I don't know if you've looked at them recently, but the team at the top of the Atlantic is the Toronto Maple Leafs. And why are the Florida Panthers only 1 point behind us? What is this?
I burn them.
We do have a game. We do have a game in hand, I will say, still, which makes me feel better. But oh my God, the Washington Capitals are like so good.
Damn. Okay, Delmstrom.
But yeah, Pittsburgh Penguins are sitting ninth in the Eastern Conference, only above the Buffalo Sabres. And they are below 500, which I think points percentage for like saying like, oh, a team is below or above 500 is so dumb in hockey. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think it's dumb. It does not mean the same thing that it does in baseball. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I realized I was kind of just like I was just sat like
You were just
shrugging.
sorry, that's my personal opinion because the like standings work different in baseball because in baseball you can't have like tie it is only a win-loss record
Mm.
and it doesn't matter like what games go to extras or whatever. Um so like whereas like hockey it's different and I just think it's like such you can't be like, oh, my team's above 500 because it's not actually representative of your record. I think,
Mm.
in my personal opinion. But that's just me. Points percentage is still important, and I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying being like using 500 as a benchmark is dumb.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. And some people can be like, "Well, Emma, you're wrong." No, have I ever been
You're
wrong?
never
Never.
wrong.
I'm never wrong. But yeah, currently in a wild card spot in the East, though, is Detroit and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Who is surprised? Raise your hand. No, but yeah, New York is one of those teams that's inching in around there. Ottawa and Boston as well. Are all three of those teams are at 62 points. Um, and I will say though, things are looking pretty grim for Ottawa. And I also say like Pittsburgh right now is looking at maybe acquiring, I don't know, like Porter Martone at the draft, which is unfortunate. For Pittsburgh, Porter Martone, which I don't know if you like. I'm sorry, he looks so much like Matthew Nyes to me. Like that's the third Nyes brother. Look up a picture of Porter Martone, and you're going to agree with me. Um, he plays for the Steelheads in the OHL, represented Team Canada at the World Juniors. Yeah, am I right?
The
That's the
third
third
night.
fridge. That's he's the third fridge. I've thought this ever since like World Junior stuff was starting up and I was like and this guy was like getting talked about a little bit more and we started like actually seeing like pictures of him and stuff. Like I at least did everywhere because like Team Canada World Juniors. But yeah, I've always thought he looks like Matthew Nyes.
That is like, yeah.
Yeah. Like so much and like built the same way too, where I'm like, yeah, you're like I think he's also like a big guy as well. And like for like being an 18-year-old, I
Yeah.
should pull up like see like his height and weight and stuff. On like his elite prospects page. He plays for the Steelheads. Um yeah, he's 6'3" and 207 pounds at 18.
That's a fridge right there.
That's a fridge. Oh, also as well, his player type, power forward, puck handler, sniper.
The third night.
We found him. I know everyone talks about the fourth. Everyone talks about the fourth Jonas brother, the third property brother. We have found the third Nyes brother.
brother.
His name is Porter Martone, and he currently plays for the Brampton Steelheads in the OHL. I'm gonna tweet this out, and I need to get everyone to like get on my agenda, being like, "Hey, have we ever considered that there's this Matthew Nyes lookalike out there in the OHL playing for the Brampton Steelheads?"
Oh my god, the third
Which
night.
is for those who are very unfamiliar with Ontario geography or even just GTA geography in general, Brampton is very close to Toronto. Um,
Yeah. Oh, oh, I can't believe we found him. The long lost Nyes brother. Do you reckon we can reunite them and like Matthew and I will genuinely believe? Like we'll just be like, "Hi, Matthew, we have found your long lost brother," and he's just like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
cool, nice."
The only thing is the Leafs are probably not going to be selecting in and around top 5 at this year's NHL draft.
No.
If they were, Howard or Mart, have we considered getting another Matthew Knies?
One day.
Porter Martone, you will be a Toronto Maple Leaf.
I'll make it happen. I don't know how I personally can make it happen, but I will.
I'm so tempted to make like the title of this episode, Porter Martone, you will be a Toronto Maple Leaf. But then like
do it.
I'm afraid people are gonna think that I'm genuinely serious about it. That I do.
Well, that's
think
why people
Porter...
have to listen to the podcast.
Like so I'm gonna start clickbaiting, not clickbait Porter Martone. Real, not clickbait Porter Martone, you will be a Toronto Maple Leaf.
Emotional. True story.
True. 100% real. Because it's like we haven't even hit the trade deadline yet, and so it's like I feel like it's too early to start like throwing around the mock drafts. At least get to like when teams start like clinching playoff spots, please. But because things can always change so quickly. But also as well, I speaking of the trade deadline though, I feel like just something to keep an eye on. Keep an eye on the Eastern Conference standings because the West, no offense to Western Conference, we also don't talk about the Western Conference a lot, but that's because Offside has a podcast for that called The Coast, hosted by Casey and Kay. We had them on the show. They talk about the Pacific Division, and it allows us to ignore the existence of I'm trying to say a team that's not the Seattle Kraken. We get to ignore the Seattle Kraken. But like at least the Vancouver Canucks are back in a playoff spot now. But like not by points percentage. Because that would be Calgary. I'm sorry. I still am so intrigued by the Calgary Flames. Because they sold off so much last year. And everyone's like, oh yeah, they're gonna start tanking. And then like they just kept winning. And like partly some of that is because like Dustin Wolf is insane. Also, can we start giving like if we're not gonna give goalies like awards like the Hart or the Calder or the Ted Lindsay, I'm trying to think of awards that like goalies can actually win. Like I'm not about to say like if we don't start giving like goalies the Rocket.
They're from the fourth line goalie of the year award.
Yeah. It's Blurb of the year. We don't differentiate. Hey, if you want to nominate a Blurbo goalie, we will consider Eric Comrie nominations.
I will very happily consider Eric Comrie nominations.
I'm sorry. I literally was like sitting in my seats, like zooming into the Winnipeg Jets bench last night, taking pictures of Eric Comrie, and the guy
like it was a concert.
Like it was a concert, and the guy behind me is like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Sorry, it's like an inside joke among my friends that we all love Eric Comrie." And he's like, "Honestly, real Eric Comrie, like what a guy." And then we go on to talk about like how he probably has like the best job in the NHL in terms of just the fact of like he's an NHL player. He gets to just like hang out with the boys and is the backup to Connor Hellebuck. So it's like he could play 20 games, lose all 20. Connor Hellebuck is still going to win like 45 out of the 65 that he plays or even more. And is just going to, and like the Jets are going to be fine. And you just get to sit on the bench and like talk. But you're also an NHL player. Like Eric Comrie has the best gig ever when you think about it, because he's like, it's like being the backup for Martin Brodeur.
He's living his absolute best life right now. Like he gets to sit there, look pretty, and yap to the social team.
Yeah, I want that job.
Well, I mean, that's what we do.
Yeah, but I'm not getting paid an NHL salary.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that my company isn't good enough for you. And I'm also sorry, I think NHL teams should pay us just because we're really cool
Yeah.
and funny.
Oh yeah. Same friend agreed with my take on that, like, teams should just start hiring locker room vibes guys, but like not have them be on the roster. That's just like a
Mm,
position and it doesn't go
yeah.
against the cap. So you don't have to sign Ryan Reeves to $1.35 million contracts.
Yeah. Like there's just a guy stood there and you're like, who's this? And like, oh, this is the vibes guy we hired.
Yeah.
Ta-da.
And they're like, oh, but like, is he playing? No, he will
No.
never play. He's not on the roster. He's just here. I genuinely think it can be a solution for some teams
Yeah.
that are a little bit cap strapped. You got a vibes guy.
Yeah.
We proposed this idea like a year ago on this podcast, and we're like,
Mm,
Toronto Maple Leafs, hire us to be your vibes guys.
please. Do you know we would they would never lose a game ever again.
Vibes would be too high because we'd be the vibes guys.
Yeah, it's like we're the vibes guys. We've got you. They've got a British person who
What
swears
more do
all
they
the
need?
time. I'd be
What more?
great at the pre-game speeches. I just swear. I just yell really loud, like just
Or
a
even
string
just
of
like
swear words.
need someone to like be in there early, to like be in there early to get the music going. Put
Mm,
me on Ox.
yes,
Everyone's
that's
about to be a
you.
Tragically Hit fan,
Whether you want to or not.
whether you want to or not. um, but yeah, just anyways, Eric Comrie, best dig in the NHL. I don't even know where we were. Oh yes, trade deadline. That's fast approaching. I
Mm.
will say though, Mikko Rantanen is back on the trade block because sure, why not? That one is one of those ones where like we're gonna slowly just start throwing names out there as we lead up to the trade deadline of like here are guys who potentially could be on the trade board. Mikko Rantanen being back on the trade board is actually okay. I shouldn't say back on the trade board because no one really knew that he was on the trade board to begin with. And then he gets
Mm.
traded, and we're all like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But him being back on the trade board is kind of crazy. Just in terms of the fact, it's like, okay, like, why can't Carolina sign free agents? Like, why make this
Mm.
move to acquire a guy and then without being 100% sure that you can sign him to an extension?
Yeah.
Like, they're gonna get Jake Gensold again. And I'm like, what is going on there? But Mikko Rantanen, there's talks about him getting flipped at the deadline if Carolina does not think they can get an extension done with him, which they are very closely running out of time. So that's one of those names to keep an eye on. I will say though, I don't think the Leafs need to like trade for him. Like, you know what I mean? Like everyone's like, oh,
Mm.
Leafs need to make a big splash at the deadline. I'm like,
No.
but do they?
No. And also, like, I don't want to lose anyone.
Oh,
Well,
I saw like Morgan, not Morgan. I saw Bobby McMahon's name being thrown around in a package for Mikko Rantanen, and I was like, "Are you crazy? Are you absolutely insane for suggesting Bobby McMahon?" Because Bobby McMahon is one of those players in which diamond in the rough find. You literally grew him
yeah.
up, like you know what I mean? Like you literally found him out of college, signed him as a free agent because he went undrafted and then
Mm.
had him play at every level of your organization, at every level. And he comes out and it's this huge success story where at like 28 years old, he's going to be a 25 goal scorer this season, and you're paying him $1.35 million. Why would you think about moving that? Why would you think about getting rid of
Yeah.
that? Because those are the type of diamond in the rough players, or those are the types of players that help you win in the playoffs and that help you win
Mm.
Stanley Cups because they're on cheap contracts or undervalued contracts for what they're able to provide you in your lineup. You're having a 25 goal scorer that you're paying less than $2 million for. Why would you want
Why
to
would you get
why would
rid
you
of
want to
him?
give that up? What for like, and like, I say that for like Um, I say that for the way of like everyone's like, okay, but like it's Mikko Rantanen, and I'm like, yeah, but
I
like
don't care.
genuinely, where would you see because he's not a center. Where would you see Mikko Rantanen fitting in this lineup?
Mm.
Because he's a right. Is he a right winger? Yeah, he's a right winger. Oh, he's a left winger. That's my bad. He's a left winger. Um, so then he would be playing on the left side. Well, you wouldn't necessarily want to like, as much as you'd be like, well, we could play up with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. Why would you want to move Matthew Knies from that spot? He's so
Why?
completely honest. Why would you do that? And then, okay, well then he can play on the second line. That's not a spot that needs to be filled.
No.
I just don't see how he could work like on that, even on like that second line with like John Tavares and like William Nylander. It still doesn't solve the glaring issue in your lineup, which is you don't have a third line center.
Yeah. Like.
Anyways, this is maybe not even like something that we need to entertain, and we don't need to sit here and entertain it for that long, but that's just something where I saw that and I was like, are you kidding? You're just saying things. Um, we talked about the Shen brothers last episode, um, in terms of potentially one or both of them coming to Toronto, which like sure, okay. Um, but I'm trying to like think of like, oh yes, here we go. Here is one that I did see today via Chris Johnson. I need just to pull up the tweet. It is right here. Um, Trent Frederick is considered week to week after leaving Tuesday's game with a lower body injury, but the sense is that it won't change any plans ahead of the trade deadline. The pending UFA could still be moved, which is something to keep an eye on if you're a Leafs fan. Trent Frederick is one of those several names that has been linked as like a third line center solution for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think he's been one of those original names with like Scott Laughton and like Yanni Gourde. Yanni Gourde potentially could play before March 7th, so he could be healthy in time after suffering from a sports hernia that's put him on the IR. So he again now is becoming a name to watch out for again. But yeah, Yanni, like one of those like original names where we're like, hey, potential solutions for the Leafs for third line center was Trent Frederick. I will say though, stop if like for the Leafs, like people who like are like, ooh, engagement, Trent Frederick. Stop dangling it in front of my face unless you're actually going to give me Trent Frederick to the Leafs, because you can't be being like, hey, Joseph Wool's childhood best friend may be traded to his team.
Like, no, I either want it to happen or I don't want to hear you talk about it. Because it's
Yeah,
just mean. Like, what do you
it's just
mean? Like, you're like everyone's hearing the rumors. How do you think poor little Joseph Wool feels? Where he's like,
okay.
oh
Well,
my
he
god,
probably
like,
isn't hearing the rumors
well,
because he's
no.
like
But, right,
getting
entertain
his.
me for a minute, Emma. Just entertain me. He's sat there and he's like, oh wow, like I'm really excited. My childhood best friend could end up playing on the same team as me. That'd be so cool. And then it never happens. And then what do you think happens to him? He sits there and he gets sad. Do you want to make Joseph all sad? No. So stop
It's
it.
it's that thing too where like Joseph Will as well. Like for those who aren't as much into the Joseph Will lore as I am, and this isn't even going that deep. This was in an Athletic article. Okay, read them. You find so many little tidbits there.
So many.
Trent Frederick quite literally is the reason why Joseph Will like is a goalie.
Mm.
Um, for those who are not in the know. Again, this is from an Athletic article. I'm not a creep. This was posted to the internet because it's like I say something like this and people are like, where did
How
you
do
learn
you
that? I'm
know
like,
that? And it's like the Athletic.
the Athletic. This was from an Athletic article. It was like a big long profile piece on Joseph Wool. But he was said anyways, he was talking about like how he became a goalie at his origins in goaltending and stuff like that. And it literally was because of a tournament that his minor team was playing up in Toronto. Needed a goalie because Trent Frederick had to miss it for his first communion. So Joseph Wool played goalie, fell in love with the position, and has been a goalie ever since. So thank you, Chen Frederick, for having to get your first communion.
Thanks, bestie.
Thanks for being forced to wear a suit. Oh my god. I remember mine. I will say though, I had the cutest first communion dress. It was like white and like it was like kind of baby like empire waist. And like little like had little spaghetti straps and then had these like it was like kind of not like silky. I think maybe probably organza is probably the material that it was because it was like shiny, but like it had actual like structure to the fabric still. So I think would it be an organza? Anyways, these like then it had these like 3 like rose like flowers on like the bodice part. And it was so cute and like simple. Because it like didn't have like a bunch of lace or like whatever's on it, but it was really cute. And I love that dress and I probably would like wear it now as an adult. Just want to say 8-year-old me had taste. When I got my first communion. Anyways.
Style icon, 8-year-old Emma.
On this podcast, we talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and being raised Catholic.
Oh god.
What
a time.
What a time. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like if there's anything else we could talk about, and not really. I mean, I don't know like what much is going on with you, but like I did this is a pretty big step though, is that I finally folded and bought a external hard drive.
Things are getting pretty serious now.
Things are getting pretty serious with the podcast, just in terms of the fact of like I am someone who likes having like physical backups of like a lot of things. And that includes like physical backups of every podcast episode. Because like, yeah, I know they're posted to the internet and in like 7 different places. And then also as well as like I have all of the original recordings saved to like my OneDrive and everything. But I'm just so afraid. I'm like, what if every server ever crashes and I lose everything on the internet? And like I want like what then? And so I want like physical backups of everything saved. I just maybe don't trust the cloud that much. So I finally caved because after like 110 episodes, my laptop is like, hey, you're seriously running out of like storage space.
Yeah.
And there's only so much that I can like there's only so many things I can get rid of off of my computer and delete that I'm like, I can't delete anything else because I need all of these things. So I finally caved and bought an external hard drive. So
yeah.
Big up. So big steps for the podcast. Yeah. That's just what I want to say. I was like, this is maybe no one will care, and this is entirely very boring for me to talk about. But yeah. With that being said, though, do we end the show here? Unless you have something else to add. I don't know. Did you buy an external hard drive?
I didn't. I did, however. Everyone's gonna find me so cool for this. I signed up to a workshop on making maps for academic purposes. So that's what I did today.
I
get to make maps.
It's so fun.
I know. It will be useful for my dissertation though, because I need a lot of maps.
Yeah.
See, that's where I'm at right now. I'm either asleep, watching the Leafs play, talking to you, or suffering through my uni work. Although yeah. I don't think I can't remember if I announced that I'm doing a master's officially yet. On the podcast.
You haven't, not on the podcast. You've told me though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got accepted onto the master's course that I really wanted to do. So prehistoric archaeology, watch out. Ooh. There's a bad bitch coming your way.
That's really exciting because it also means that I can officially start looking at things to do in the city in which you're going to university for your master's.
I know, it's going to be weird. I was sitting, I was
I'm like, okay, so now I have to get back to England in the next 2 years.
no, I mean, we've already had a club recommendation where they do £1 Jaeger bombs.
I
It's
can't do I
so
can't do Jaeger
but
bombs,
they're
so
a
you know
pound,
that.
Emma. I don't care if it's like bleach. If it's a pound, you suck it up and you take the shot.
Oh boy. Anyways, we'll end the show here. But we'll be back on Monday with another episode to talk about a couple of Leaf games and the start of trade deadline week, which, oh my God, we didn't even talk about Mark Giordano being on Trade Center.
Yes, he was so beautiful and bold.
I'm sorry. We didn't even talk about Mark Giordano. My goat. Love you. We love Mark Giordano.
We do.
That's our old man. And I have to actually go back and try and find, because I think there's like a TSN like bar down like called out video with the Leafs in which it's like, oh, who do you think will be like on TV? And it's like someone said Mark Giordano. And I have to go and find it.
Yeah.
But there's like a bar down called out video. But I will go and find it. Anyways, with that being said, I think we will end it here. We'll be back. Anyways, Marcie no, yes, we'll be on Trade Center. Go on Friday on TSN to kind of give a more players' perspective of like about being traded and stuff. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's good to see that he's alive because honestly, like
I was starting to wonder, I'm not gonna lie.
I was like, it's good to see that he's live in the way of like literally like the season ended last year and I had not seen a single sign of him except for that one article that went into the Star about his agent. Not about his agent, but like from his agent that's like, yeah, we're looking at like maybe getting him a contract, and I don't think that's happening.
No.
Considering he's like 40 years old. But it's good to see him do like stuff with TSN on TV and stuff. So he was on like he was on Overdrive on Tuesday before the Bruins game. And that was like really freaky where I was like, what? Mark Giordano?
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? But yeah, with that being said, we'll be back on Monday to kick off trade deadline week. And to talk about some Leaf games, a couple Leaf games. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. Once again, you can find the show wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, sorry, I'm like getting text messages from a group project as I'm doing the outro, and I like was just asked to do something, but I could do it after. But anyway, sorry. You can listen to the show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow the show on Twitter at From the Fourth Line, fourth with the 4th to never miss another episode. We're presented by Offside News. You can find Offside News at Offside News Co. on all social platforms. And also you can read all the articles that are published by the site online at offsidenewsco.com. And in between episodes, because you find us so deeply hilarious and you happen to miss us, you can also find us, both of us, on Twitter at 60 Leaves for Mercy, at Pairview1 for myself. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back on Monday with another episode. And in the meantime,
go Leafs go!
Go Leafs go!